Think about it for a second. If you were an adversary and you were trying to take down someone who had a huge calling on their life, would you always launch this massive, direct, completely obvious offensive? The author really challenges this assumption. We're always bracing ourselves for the earthquakes and the explosions, constantly looking out for massive disasters. But what if we're looking in completely the wrong direction?
The answer, according to the text, is a punchy, kind of sobering realization. No. Sometimes the absolute smartest move for an enemy isn't to destroy you at all. It's just to keep you entertained. I mean, why expend all that energy on a frontal assault when you can just keep someone completely distracted? The author argues that if an enemy can keep you looking the wrong way for long enough, you're going to eventually destroy your own potential, and they won't even have to lift a finger.
Section 1. The Devil's Strategy. Distraction. Now, what's really interesting about this is how it translates into our everyday lives.
The text doesn't just leave this as some abstract, high-level concept. It pinpoints exactly how this plays out in the real world. Here's the author's list of our modern battlegrounds. It's not fire and brimstone, guys. It's keeping you scrolling endlessly through feeds. It's tricking you into comparing your messy behind the scenes to somebody else's highly edited highlight reel. It's chasing fleeting attention, getting dragged into petty arguments with people who literally have no impact on your life's purpose, and obsessing over status and follower counts. The argument here is that keeping you insanely busy watching everyone else's life basically guarantees you'll never have the time or the energy to build your own.
I absolutely love this stark contrast. So our expectation of a spiritual attack is often this dramatic, terrifying event, right? Like a screaming demon in your bedroom. But the reality is just a ping on your phone. It's a shiny new notification. It's a DM sliding into your inbox. It's that seemingly harmless, totally deceptive little thought of, I'll just watch one more video. The author makes an incredibly compelling case that everyday technology, our basic daily habits, are the actual active front lines of this conflict.
So how exactly do we define the enemy's strategy based on this text? Well, it's explicitly defined as the act of stealing a person's focus so they cannot fulfill their life's calling. The ultimate goal here isn't to drop a massive brick wall in front of you to stop your calling directly. That's way too obvious. Instead, the strategy is just to quietly tap you on the shoulder, point in the complete opposite direction, and divert your attention away from that calling altogether.
Section 2. Little compromises, big consequences.
And this brilliantly illustrates that this isn't just a modern smartphone problem. The author dives into history to show us how famous biblical downfalls were almost never sudden. Like, we tend to think Samson was defeated by brute force, just a sudden knockout punch. But the text says no. The enemy just found a cracked door through his unchecked desires. We might assume King David fell because he just abruptly lost his faith overnight, but the reality? He just looked where he shouldn't have, entertained the thought, and then finally acted on it. And Judas didn't just wake up one random Tuesday and decide to betray his leader. He yielded to tiny little compromises over a long period of time. It is all about a compromised focus.
This whole concept is anchored in a thought derived from 1 Peter 5:8, which advises people to be sober and vigilant because the adversary prowls around like a roaring lion. But listen to the author's specific spin on this. A lion doesn't always announce itself. It watches, it studies, it waits. The point they're making is that the enemy isn't always out there roaring loudly just to scare you. They are quietly, patiently checking for the doors you've carelessly left unlocked.
Section 3. Fighting the wrong battles. Now, leaving those doors unlocked usually happens when we are just looking the completely wrong way. And the text introduces this really powerful analogy here that I think hits the nail on the head. Imagine a footballer, a soccer player, out on the pitch. Step 1, every single time a spectator insults him, he physically leaves his position to go argue with them. Step 2, he completely stops playing the game whenever a critic shouts his name. Step 3, he just loses all his focus because of every little provocation coming from the stands. So what's the result? Well, 90 minutes later, he has successfully won every single argument with the fans, but he has completely lost the match. Getting emotionally wrapped up in things that literally do not matter causes you to miss your actual assignment.
I want to just pause for a second and let this rhetorical question really sink in. Why are you leaving your position to fight people who aren't even part of your assignment? The text lists out these super mundane provocations we all deal with. Somebody doesn't like you? So what? Somebody has more followers than you? So what? Somebody didn't invite you to their party? So what? Every time you engage in these petty little battles, you are actively choosing to take yourself out of the game.
Section 4. Good versus the best.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because here is where the author takes the narrative a whole layer deeper. Distraction isn't always something inherently bad or evil. Sometimes distraction is actually doing something genuinely good.
The author contrasts two figures from Luke chapter 10 to explain this. Martha, who was incredibly busy doing a genuinely good thing, serving her guests, and Mary, who was doing literally nothing but sitting and listening. The text points out that while Martha's serving was fine, Mary had chosen the better part. The takeaway? Your life's assignment requires strict priorities. You can spend your whole life doing perfectly good things and still be totally neglecting the absolute best thing.
Because your attention, it's like a currency. The text outlines this exact psychological chain reaction. It's like a domino effect. Step 1, what you repeatedly give your attention to. Step 2, eventually shapes your internal desires. Step 3, and those desires eventually shape your life-altering decisions. This is exactly why the author challenges you to ask yourself, what can you sit and spend hours doing without ever getting tired? Because whatever that thing is, for better or worse, it is actively shaping the trajectory of your entire life.
Section 5. The power of walking away.
So, the big question, how do we actually fight back against this? The author introduces these proactive defense mechanisms, and they are brilliantly practical. Look at this statement. You prove how serious you are by walking away from temptation, not by standing next to it. The source points to the historical story of Joseph fleeing from Potiphar's house. According to the author, true strength isn't trying to negotiate with a distraction or, seeing exactly how close to the fire you can stand without catching on fire. True strength is simply refusing to engage. When temptation grabs you, you run. No negotiations. And the actual text actually calls this right out sometimes. Doing the right thing doesn't look cool or impressive at all. It's frankly kind of boring. It looks like, step 1, just deleting a contact's number. Step 2, physically standing up and walking out of a room. Step 3, just turning the stupid phone off. The author warns that, people might call you boring. They might laugh at you for not getting involved in the drama. But the response to that is simple. Let them laugh. Your goal is to finish your assignment, not to win a popularity contest with the spectators.
Section 6. Reclaim your attention today.
So, the crucial point as we drive this explainer toward the finish line is urgency. Recognizing you're distracted, that's only half the battle. The other half is taking action, and the absolute greatest enemy of action is the trap of tomorrow. We've all done it, right? Tomorrow I'll change. Tomorrow I'll really start focusing. Tomorrow I'll finally get serious. The text points out the tragic, heavy reality of this mindset. If you're not careful, one day you're going to wake up and realize you haven't just lost a day, you've literally handed over entire years of your life to tomorrow. The only antidote to the trap of tomorrow is fiercely protecting your life right now. Protect your mind, protect your eyes, protect your time, protect your relationships, protect your spiritual life. The author's stance couldn't be clearer here. You do not need to be entirely destroyed to be defeated in life. You simply need to be left unprotected, unguarded, and constantly distracted. To really lock in this mindset, the text leaves us with this absolute mic drop of a quote from the historical figure Nehemiah. While he was literally up high rebuilding a city wall, his enemies kept trying to bait him into coming down to argue and fight with them. His response? I am doing a great work so that I cannot come down. I absolutely love that. The author urges us to adopt this exact same mentality. You don't have to respond to every text. You don't have to attend every single argument you're invited to. You have an assignment. Keep building your wall. Which brings us to the ultimate question the source leaves us with. What will you close the door on today? Not tomorrow, today. Identify those modern distractions in your own life, the endless scrolling, the petty arguments, the nonstop notifications, and actively refuse to negotiate with them anymore. Reclaim your focus because your assignment is waiting.